Hi guys, welcome.
What's up, Jonah? Bro,
And Ruin is
why,
still
why,
alive.
why are you laughing? Why are you laughing?
Hmm. Hmm. The stream wouldn't start, and I was worried about your life. I was worried about your well-being.
So, KK decided that he couldn't stay in his cage and had to join me for the show. But I'm so scared he's just about to bite me. He's so freaked out right now.
Oh my gosh.
What's up, Duz? How's it going? Hola la bestia. Um, so scared.
He knows his life, so look, he stopped. He's behaving now. She's like,
No, he's
I'm on
not.
stream. They're
Look at his
watching me,
eyes.
so I'm gonna behave now.
Look at his eyes.
I know.
I
Did you hear him? He's so gonna bite me. If there's like blood and feathers, I'll just turn the camera off and then you'll have to go on without me. What's up, McLovin? Yes, it's probing 101.
We're McLovin it. Hola la bestia, gracias. Sí, ahorita como en 2 horas, menos de 2 horas empezamos en español, chicos, así que gracias. Si quieren regresar en español, si se quieren quedar, también son más que bienvenidos. Don't let Chona around your... No, I did. Remember, I petted him too, but I was like, turn him around.
He's so gonna bite me. I'm so scared.
He's all freaked out.
Look at him.
But he was being worse. He was bad, like really bad right now, behind scenes. And then we went live, and then he was like, "Oh crap! I better behave.
I'm on YouTube now. I'm famous.
Oh look, like he's like trying to fit this little circle.
Yeah, exactly right. KK wants his 15 minutes of fame. Well, at least he moved away from the side that has the cord, right?
He said, "KK one ear."
We'll see. Like I said, if he freaks out, then we may need a brief pause. We will see. And he's like pulling my shirt over to the side with his claws, with his talons.
But McLovin, that's not a baby chicken or a baby bird. He's older already, so.
KK's like 25 now.
He survived.
25. Ah. It's gonna be bad. Anyway, so what have you been up to, John? It's been a few days.
Surviving the weather. It's actually starting to get nice, so that's good.
Still hot out there?
Not as bad. I think we finally reached like high 90s. We're finally in like the low hundreds. Low hundreds in the middle of September. That used to be like the beginning of our winter a few years ago.
It's like 60 something here right now.
Dang. I might have to just move out there, man. No, I'm just kidding.
It's crazy. Oh, do you want to see outside? I'll show you outside. You want to see?
Yeah, just don't drop everything. Oh, nice. We get clouds like that too, but you know, it's just Mother Nature being a tease. Like, you're gonna get rain, psych. You're gonna get rain, psych.
No, it's not gonna rain, I don't think.
No, to us, or it's like...
I guess it might, but I don't know. I mean, maybe it looks kind of rainy.
To us here, Mother Nature is like, you're gonna have good weather, psych. We get clouds for like 5 minutes.
So I see the on-air sign showed back up. How did that happen?
I don't know. It just appeared on my desk.
Just appeared?
Yeah.
Literally just appeared?
Yeah, and the aliens knew we were gonna talk about them, and they're like, "Oh, we better give it back."
Is your mom watching? Because if she is, I wonder if she has a YouTube channel. I wonder if she just used it
She
for
does.
her
She
show.
watches us. She watches Bennick and I.
Like I said, I wonder if she used it for her show. She likes.
Oh
put it
yeah.
up.
Oh my gosh, imagine that.
Like she just put it in front of her, like right there, right?
She's
Anyway,
like, on air.
so just pushing cards. That's all you've been doing.
Pushing cards. I'm outside. How like 4 or 5 hours outside pushing cards, and then the rest of the time I'm inside, either cashiering or assisting a cashier or closing different areas. And yeah,
Nothing happening. No hot dates. Big dinners.
no, definitely none of that. Oh God.
Just wondering. We gotta catch up with you, right?
Oh no, man. We don't need any of that.
Okay. Just
drama in our
checking.
life right now. No, I'm just kidding.
Just checking. Just wanted
We
to
don't
be
need any
sure.
bad events.
So, I do have something coming up this Friday.
Awesome. Share with us.
They're finally doing something that might help my middle back.
Nice.
So I am getting like an injection there,
Uh-huh.
or maybe more than one, depending on what they see, I guess. I don't know.
Are you excited?
I am, because the middle back thing has been a pain, like totally crazy, wild, like 2.5 years worth of back pain, and finally maybe doing something about it.
Dang, it's been that long already.
Right? 2.5 years.
Wow.
Been a long time.
That is a while.
So today, what are we talking about? What are you gonna tell? What are you gonna tell us about?
Dun 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 dun. How chickens go missing. No, I'm just kidding. Today is Aliens 102.
102.
We had beginners for aliens, and now we're getting a little more advanced. Are you okay? I can't hear it.
Right?
Did I say?
I muted
Did I-
myself because I had to cough.
Yes. I said we had beginners for aliens.
Yeah, what's up, Jam?
Not beginners for aliens. Aliens. What? Beginners for what? Beginners for humans.
Right? So we talked about all those other aliens last time, right? The last aliens episode. So we kind of covered all like the different species and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured today we have to talk about like probably one of the most well-known alien abductions ever.
Ooh, okay.
Right?
Hi, Mr. Jam Jam. Hola, Tío Wagner.
Hola.
El
Hola,
aliento
Wagner.
que está con...
So we kind of talked a little bit about this in one of the previous alien episodes, and then it turns out that, like I said, it's one of the most famous abductions ever, one of the most well documented abductions as well.
Uh-huh.
And so I figure we should get back to. Are you okay?
Yes.
I thought that was no drip makeup.
It is, but see, now I might be getting an allergic reaction to something there.
I didn't think you were
Although,
supposed to put that on your eye.
although it was fine because I mean I did the WR. It's probably because I haven't slept. Hey,
You were
Miss
sweating
Chona,
from
Chonies, Chon
your
Chon.
other stream. The husband and wife, yeah. Betty and Barney Hill.
Both got
So
abducted.
yeah. That's what
Holy
makes it so
crap!
interesting.
Now that's a matrimony right there. No, I was kidding.
That's what makes it so interesting. And then while I was like searching for them and doing the research on them, it was pretty interesting. So let's go over it a little bit in brief before we get completely into the story,
Okay.
and then you can run the clip, and then we will talk about the whole thing, and
What
so
clip?
everyone can kind of see the pictures. But while I was researching their story, you know what kept popping up?
What?
There are like tons of abductions and alien sightings in Argentina. For some reason, I kept getting like hits on things happening in Argentina.
Wow, interesting.
So there are a few clips in the little reel that we have at the end of a few different stories in Argentina, and we can like talk of. I didn't do like a bunch of research on those because the Betty and Barney Hill story is going to take a while. But I wanted to throw those pictures in so that if people are interested, especially for the Spanish broadcast, if people are interested in those stories, we can do a full episode on one of those as well because they are. There's one. Oh my gosh, we'll get to it at the end. Remind me about the most amazing Argentine story.
Argentina is really, really isolated and desolated, and is suspected of being a base in the mountains. Base like what, for aliens or what?
Yeah, an alien base
like
there
a spacecraft
because there's so many sightings, and then some of them are pretty. Well, anyway, remind me at the end. So anyway, the main story for today is Betty and Barney Hill, who were traveling. They were coming back from like a little impromptu vacation, and they were heading back home, and they heard a storm was coming, and they decided to drive straight through to get home in time.
Wow.
So so we have pictures of them. And then the college that she went to actually put up like a little sign, like a marker for like where the area where the abduction, the sighting occurred.
Oh, wow.
So we have a picture of that, and then the car that they were driving, of course, is in there. Well, the same model anyway. It was like a 1957. It's a nice car. Well, it was a nice car then, and if you still have one, it's a really nice car. And we also have a map of where they traveled through to get home, and kind of like the areas where the sightings occurred. And then we at the end of that reel, it was amazing. No, I'm just excited because. Do you know you have access to like the CIA files and stuff like that? Like the stuff they released that's like unclassified? You can just look it up.
Public files?
Yeah, they're like public record now.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never gone through those and like looked that stuff up. And that I included like a couple of shots of the CIA files on the case. And so there's a few of those in there, and then right at the end, there's just a couple things about Argentina. So if you want to play the reel, people can kind of take a look at that.
Play it now?
Yeah, go ahead, and then we'll get full on into the story.
I'll just play tomorrow. No, I'm just kidding. Here it goes. All right, play.
So, like I said, there's a picture of Betty and Barney Hill in there, and the marker that her college put up. And then you also get to see her car, their model of car that they were driving during this whole
Nice.
incident. Yeah, so this takes place in like 1961. So it was kind of odd to have an interracial couple at that point in time, right? And it's a nice car, right? I like that car. I wish I had that car now.
It is nice.
But the like I said, there's also a map of where they went, and then during the whole process, they ended up drawing like a star map as well.
Mhm.
And so there's a picture of their star map in there. The other pictures are just UFO sightings, but kind of in the kind of reflecting what they went through as well. Like I said, is the CIA report, which is now unclassified. So it's pretty. It was pretty cool. It's weird the way they document things. So the reading is pretty difficult, I guess. It's just, it's hard to like drudge through it. It's not like told like a story.
Okay.
It's,
kind of like
yeah.
codes.
No, it's always like there's always like a bunch of stuff in them because I looked through a couple different reports as well as the one for Argentina, and it was they're not easy reading. Okay, and then the ones at the end are actually there's some photographs and some maps of the areas of where the sightings in Argentina were. So when we get to those, we can cover those as well.
All the little blue spots.
What's that?
All the little blue spots on the map.
Not all of the little blue dots, but a lot of them.
I was gonna say that's a lot.
Well, wait till we get to that story. You'll
it's there. I'm gonna put
it. You will be amazed. Anyway, so Benny and Betty Hill were coming back from their little vacation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were up in Canada, and they heard a storm was coming, so they decided to drive home straight. And they figured they would be home around 2:30 in the morning if they drove straight through. So they were coming home, and as they were driving, they spotted kind of a light up in the sky. And Betty noticed it because Barney was driving.
Mm-hmm.
Is the little reel still playing? I keep seeing it flash up on the screen. That's pretty funny. Did you rewind it?
No, it's because I had put it to the map when you were talking about the map, and then I started it again. Now that you're telling the story.
Anyway, so they spotted this light up in the sky, and first it was pretty far away, and they thought, oh, well, it must be like a satellite or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as they kept driving, it seemed like it was moving a little bit, and they're like, oh, yeah, it's got to be a satellite.
Mm-hmm.
And as they continued to drive, it changed direction.
Okay.
So they're like, oh, well, it's probably just an airplane or a helicopter, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they continued to drive, but the light got more and more brighter. And then it started changing directions again, and it looked like it was following them.
Mm-hmm.
And so they drove more. Betty kept looking at it. Your makeup's killing you. That's actually kind of funny.
They can't see that.
Oh, by the way, I still see the reel going. Are you monitoring?
Yeah, it's going on. It's playing. It restarted.
Oh, okay. Are you just gonna let it run?
Yeah.
Okay. Just let me know, or I'll see it. I guess if it stops. So at one point they figure it's got to be like a helicopter because of the way it's flying. It just keeps changing directions, but they never hear any noise.
Mhm.
And they actually stop a few times during the trip, and they have some binoculars with them, and they get out the binoculars and they stop and they try to look at it. And Barney is wearing them around his neck, and he says, "Well, it looks like it has windows or something, right?"
Mhm.
And so they keep driving, and it passes in front of the moon, and they say it kind of looks cigar shaped almost, like like the moon's like behind it,
Yeah.
and
What?
so you can kind of see the outline a little bit better. And they say it kind of looks like a disc or maybe like cigar shaped or something. But after they stop, and he says that it looks like there's windows and stuff. They kind of freak out, and they get back in the car and they start driving again, and it looks like it's getting closer and closer, and now it's now it's getting to be like more of like a ball
Like
of light in
it's
the
coming
sky.
towards them.
Yeah, it's starting to follow them, and Betty starts to freak out, and they keep looking for it, and then it disappears. They don't see it anymore.
Uy, cucuy.
But they feel like it's still around someplace, right?
Mhm.
And then as they're driving, they start to hear this sound, right? And it sounds kind of like, I guess, like a tuning fork or something. And they hear like a boom, boom, right? Noise.
Okay.
And it goes on over and over. And as they're driving, they start to feel like drowsy. Like they're not quite paying attention to stuff anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And
they were being hypnotized.
They get drowsier and drowsier, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a little while later, like they seem to kind of lose touch with reality, I guess is the thing, right? And they keep driving, they keep looking for the UFO, and they don't see it anymore. And then they kind of, it feels like almost like they black out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or they become really like everything gets really blurry and indistinguishable. And then they slowly start to come back to consciousness again, right? They start noticing more of their surroundings. They're looking around, and
like 50 years passed. No, I'm just kidding.
And they start trying to figure out where they are because they're like, what's going on, right?
Yeah.
And they notice they've gone like 35 or 40 miles, like from where they last remember.
Oh, wow.
And they're like, that's weird. So they keep driving, and they end up back at home. But when they get home, it's kind of strange. They feel really weird, and they end up getting home like at I think like about 5 a.m.
So like 5 hours later. Wait.
Well, it's they were supposed to get home at like 2:30, right?
Oh yeah.
But now it's like 5 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
But they get home, and they say they feel really weird. They just feel strange. And they get out of their car, and they notice some things have happened. Like, her dress is like torn in certain places and like scuffed and like, messed up.
Mm-hmm.
And the tops of Barney's shoes have like scuff marks on them. But just like the tops of the shoes, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and then they also realized that both of their watches have stopped.
Ooh.
And their watches never worked again. They could never get the watches repaired and working again. So they go inside, and she takes off the dress, and she hangs it up in her closet. And he has this strange urge to go to the bathroom and check his private parts.
Mm.
Like, just this weird urge. And he goes in there, and he, takes off his pants, and he's like, everything looks okay.
I was like, everything was gone. Oh.
Yeah, so kind of weird, right? Like, you don't get back from the trip and say, hey, let me see if all the parts are good,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But he had this really strong urge to do that. And anyway, they've been driving all night, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they're pretty tired, and they're like, well, let's just get some rest. So they take a nap, they wake up, and, the storm's rolled in, it's raining now. And they start talking to each other about, hey, that was kind of a weird thing that went on, right? Do you remember anything? And as they talk, they start to remember a little bit about what had happened, but they have that weird, like 35-mile, 40-mile, 2-hour block, like where they just felt out of touch.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Betty's sister. So they discuss it for a little bit, and then they decide, you know what? We probably shouldn't tell anybody. We probably shouldn't talk about it. And the first thing that Betty does is call her sister and talk about it, right? So she does it because it turns out that like her sister had something happen to her. She had like some UFO sightings.
Uh-huh.
And so she talks to her sister, and her sister's like, "Oh yeah, you should definitely call like the Air Force base and report it to them." And so they end up calling in and filing a report with the military, which ends up in Project Blue Book.
What is that?
So Project Blue Book is like the most famous alien thing ever. Besides like Area 51. Basically, it's a government, to put it in short, it's like a government report about aliens. About alien sightings and abductions and things like that. Yeah, but it basically records a lot of the stories people have told about it. So anyway, they meet with the officers there, and they file a report, but they leave out some of the stuff that makes them sound a little crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And her sister also, I believe, puts them in touch with a scientist that she knows.
Mm-hmm.
And that guy says, "Hey, you should take a look and see if there's anything going on with your car. And the best way to do it is to take like a compass out with you and then go around the car, right?"
Mm-hmm.
So, back on that first day, before they filed the report and everything, they go outside and they start looking at the car, and they notice that the trunk of the car has like these round parts on the back that are just shiny.
Mm-hmm.
Like someone polished the paint off, and so there's like a bunch of these like round little marks on there. And Betty thinks that was from the sound that they were hearing, right?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
The ding. ding noise.
Mhm.
And then when she moves the compass over to those parts, the compass like starts spinning around and acting weird.
Mhm.
But only near those little circles in the back of their car.
Like my magnetic force or something.
Yeah, so something happened to the trunk of that car, right?
Oh yeah.
So so anyway, so they filed that report, and then pretty much nothing happened. But the officers seemed really interested in it, and they kind of decide, well, we'll keep it quiet, right? We don't want to like make a big deal of anything, and they kind of go back to they try to kind of go back to their normal lives, right? But Betty starts having these dreams every night, and she says they're not quite like dreams. There's something different about them. So she tells her sister that she's been having these strange dreams with these people that don't quite look normal, and her sister says you should write everything that you remember down. And so Betty does that, right? Jam Churna is a blonde in almost everything.
Everything. I even forget my name. What? No, just kidding.
No, Jam. Because if she did her homework, then she wouldn't be surprised by any of this.
Yeah, we want the reactions to be natural.
Right. So if I tell the story and she already knows the whole story, she's just gonna be like, whatever, keep talking, right? Instead of actually being interested in it.
Beat you to the exciting parts. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. Anyway, well, so it turns out that officer that took the report actually sent it to higher up, and they end up getting in contact with someone much higher up in the military, and he says, well, it's really interesting, your story about seeing the lights and seeing like what you thought was like a ship and the windows and things like that, but you should probably figure out what's going on with that 2 hours, right? 2.5 hours, whatever that's missing in those 35 miles. You should probably go under hypnosis and try to and try to figure out what's going on. I'm just looking at KK because I feel nervous again. I felt nervous.
He's gonna abduct you.
So anyway, they end up talking to like a few people, but just they don't go to like the newspapers or anything. I mean, they end up talking to her sister and of course those guys in the military, and they also talk with their church group, I guess, to try to gain a little peace about the whole thing.
Yeah.
But so a little time goes by, and I think about 2 years later, they end up talking with somebody who can do, I guess at the time they called it like clinical hypnosis, to see if they could regain those memories of what was going on. So what they do is they end up going to this guy, and he decides the best way to do this is he's going to hypnotize them separately.
Ooh.
And he also implants like the suggestion that they shouldn't talk to each other about anything. And he doesn't want them to remember the whole story until he hears the whole story. So he doesn't want them to remember like the little bits along the way.
Yeah.
So he tells them that you won't remember anything about this time when you wake up.
Yeah.
But what he does is he records all of their sessions. So they end up going for a long time to this guy, right? Because like I said, they do all the sessions separate, and then they don't talk about it afterwards because they don't remember it again. But there's about 11 hours of audio tape of them being hypnotized. And then trying to remember what was going on. And the tapes, they're actually very emotional when they remember this time. So there's like screaming and crying and everything on the tapes from Betty and Barney. Yeah, they're pretty emotional. Excuse me. And they actually reveal the entire story of what happened during those couple hours when they were missing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I just deleted my chat somehow.
Are those videos accessible?
The audio tapes?
Yeah, the audios.
Some of it is. I didn't find the whole thing, and I didn't want to listen to 11 hours. So most of the stuff you find has like clips of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be so interesting.
So what happened is they have the entire story under hypnosis of both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what they end up telling. So after the pinging noises, the sound the first time, they started getting drowsy, right?
Yeah.
And at one point, they swerve off the main road and drive down into like a secluded area.
Okay.
Barney doesn't know why he does this, but he does. He leaves the main road. He drives down into this secluded area, and they stop, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when they stop, the UFO starts to come down out of the sky and lands there in front of them.
What?
Yeah, it's still kind of far away. It's like across like a field or something.
Mm-hmm.
But Barney still has those binoculars that they were using before, and he can see like into the ship with them. And he says there's like about 10 or a dozen people in there, humanoids.
Uh-huh.
And it looks like there's one that's like the leader in there. And so when he starts using the binoculars, he can see like the people like moving around doing stuff, and then like one of them is just like staring at him. And he can't describe what is going on the tapes, but he feels like that alien is talking to him. I guess now you would call it telepathically, but
yeah.
Barney didn't have the words to describe it, right?
Yeah.
He said he felt like the guy was talking to him, but he didn't understand how he could be talking to him. So the guy tells him like not to run, to stay there.
Mm-hmm.
And Barney does, right? He's like standing out there. And of course, the ship has landed now, and the aliens come out of the ship, and they come up, and Barney is like kind of in a trance. But these aliens are short. They're 5 feet or under. Kind of like someone you know.
Hey, I'm talking
to him. Your people. And they have big kind of roundy eyes that are kind of almondy shaped, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah, they got that, right? And so everyone should know now that those are the Greys, right? From our previous episode. So Barney is kind of like almost in a trance, I guess. And in the tapes, Betty seemed to have better recollection. And she says she like freaks out, right? And she tries to run back to the car, but they grab her, and she says this is where probably a lot of the damage to her dress happened, because she's like struggling with them, and she might have like kicked one. But they get a hold of her, but they rip her dress, and they damage her dress, right? And it looks like Barney can't move anymore, and so they're like supporting him, and they start dragging him towards the ship. And so his feet are like dragging underneath him.
Oh, that's where the little cuffs and the shoes.
And that's where all the scrapes. That's where his shoes got all scraped up.
Mira.
So they get inside the ship, and they eventually get Betty inside there, and she says the same thing, right? She doesn't really have the words, but they're talking to her telepathically. They tell her that they're not going to hurt them. They just want to do a little bit of examination.
Research,
right? Just a little probing. So, anyway, hello, Byron. So they get back into they get into the ship, and they're taken to two separate rooms, right? Some of the descriptions are similar. There's a couple of things that are different with hers, but they describe the rooms as being really brightly lit and kind of like pie shaped, but without the point of the pie, which means they're kind of like they're in like a section of the saucer, right? Kind of near the wall. Because, you know, if the saucer is round and then you had like a room, it would be like pie shaped. But if you wouldn't have the point, because that's where you would like go in, right?
Oh, okay. So kind of like a triangle, but without one of the corners, because that's
because of the shape of the ship. Yeah, but they both describe the room as being kind of pie shaped, really brightly lit, and there's like a low metal examination table, and Barney says there's not like a whole lot more in the room, like a cabinet, and he doesn't really remember much. And then he says he closes his eyes, but he can still hear what they call the examiner talking to him.
Interesting. Okay.
So he's lying there on the table, and then they like strip him down, and they put this thing on his groin over his private parts, like this cup-like thing.
No wonder. Okay.
Right? But he says he said it wasn't painful, and he's very specific, though. I believe it's his left ear, or maybe it's hers. But they take very specific samples from him, and Betty's story is pretty similar. She says she starts off on like what she calls a stool, but in her room there's a lot more apparatus, like a lot more devices. She calls them like gadgets on the wall. But she also says really brightly lit, pie shaped, right? And they start examining her, and she says they take like fingernail samples and hair samples from her, and they run this thing over her arm, and they also start. The examiner is also talking with her the whole time, kind of telling her to, relax. We're not going to hurt you, that kind of thing. But they end up like stripping her down completely naked, and they lay her on the table while they're doing all this examining. And she says they also do something with like these little wires or little probes that they stick in like all over her body, and she feels like a tingly sensation over her whole body and like even in her brain while they're doing this. Yeah. And then right? And then they take this, they show up with this like really long needle.
Yeah.
Long needle. And she like freaks out and she's like, what are you going to do with that? And the examiner says, well, we just want to check your organs and we want to see if you're pregnant. And they like jab it into her stomach, like into her belly button.
Oh.
And she like freaks out. She like screams. And because it's painful, even though the dude said, the alien says, oh, this isn't going to hurt, right?
Uh-huh.
But the examiner guy does something and he passes his hand like over her eyes and they turn something on and all the pain goes away.
What?
And then he's like, oh, I'm really sorry. We didn't think that would hurt you. And like he tells him, like, he tells her again, like, they're interested in knowing if she's pregnant. Right? Anyway. Yeah. So they pull the needle out and he says, well, you guys can go now. We're all done. And she says, well, it was interesting being here, but no one is going to believe my story. Is there anything I can take back with me to prove that I was here with you?
Mm-hmm.
And the examiner guy says, well, sure, look around. If there's something that you can carry with you that you think will prove that we were here, you can take it with you. So she looks around and she sees something that looks like a book. And she grabs the book and she opens it up and it's filled with writing that she can't read.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Lots of weird lines and squiggles and dots. And she's like, I want to take this. And the guy's like, oh, sure, no problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so she holds on to that book. Yo, what's up, Muppet? And she says, can I ask you some questions? And the aliens, well, like, sure, but we have some questions for you too. And they end up talking for a while. The questions are pretty weird. Like, for example, they notice that Barney is wearing dentures. And he's like, well, why do his teeth come out and yours don't?
Mm-hmm.
So she right? So she has to explain about dentures, right? Like when people get older, some people lose their teeth or whatever, and you need to get dentures, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, well, why do you need the teeth? Or he says, what do you mean older? And so she has to explain, like, the process of aging to the aliens.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, one question leads to another. Like, she has to explain food, and she has to explain dying, and she has to explain yellow. Yeah. She just they just don't understand all of the words, right? She has to explain what squash is. So anyway, she asks, well, where are you from? And the alien says, oh, well, here, let me show you. And he shows her like this map, right? And it's actually on the slides. You can see there's like two like bigger dots, and then there's some lines going out, right? And then like a dotted line and like another dot, and then the straight lines go different places, and there's more like dotted lines in there. And she's like, oh, well, what does that mean? And he's like, well, the the really thick line is like a trade route, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the dotted lines are expeditions, places we've gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's all, well, where is this? And the alien says, well, where are you from? Like, where are you?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, we're on Earth, right? He's like,
Yeah.
but where is that? And she's like, well, I don't know. And the alien says, well, if you don't know where you are, what good would it do to tell you where we are? Where we're from?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Anyway, they end up being called the Theta Reticuli. Anyway, it comes up in a little bit. So she is really fascinated by the map, and she looks at it for a while, and the alien says, well, it's time for you guys to go. And she's like, okay, but how can I contact you again? Like what if you come back?
Yeah.
And the guy's all, well, we just kind of watch everybody, and the people that are willing are always get found.
What?
So she like freaks out a little bit, and she's like, okay, well that's fine. So they walk out through the ship, and the alien says, once you leave, or once we leave, you guys won't remember what happened. And she says, well, I'm going to remember, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the alien says, well, it's probably better if you don't. And they take the book out of her hands. And she's like freaks out, and she's like, you promised, and all this, right? And the guy says, well, the others have said that it's better if you don't have the book. And they start to kind of get back under they're still kind of like in that controlled state, right? Like they can't do everything that they want to, but they can do something.
Yeah.
And Barney is still more like dazed than her.
Mm-hmm.
But he says, well, go back to your car. They walk them like most of the way back to the car. He says, but you should watch us leave. And she's like, okay. And they get back into the car, and they're about to drive off, and then she tells Barney, hey, let's go back outside and watch them leave.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, watch who leave? Because he's already forgotten the whole experience.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
He's like, they just like sent him back to the car and told him drive home.
Yeah.
And then they like wiped him. And since she was still talking with them, she isn't quite wiped yet.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, well, watch who leave. And she's like, well, just get out of the car. And they get out of the car, and they see the ship there.
Uh-huh.
And the ship starts to glow like orange, and then it takes off into the sky.
Mm-hmm.
And later on, it leaves, and they drive home. But later on, in part of her memories and dreams and things she wrote down, they said that she remembered like the glowing ball leaving. She didn't remember any of the ship or things like that. Just some vague things about like people talking to her, but not talking to her.
Mm-hmm.
Using the telepathy, right?
Telepathy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but she wrote down things about that glowing ball, right? And then they also both remembered seeing the moon, because as it got further away, it kind of got wider and wider.
Mm-hmm.
And they also remembered seeing the moon on the way home. But it wasn't the moon, it was actually that ship. Because the the moon had already set that day. Like they checked like the lunar cycle or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and the moon was already gone at that point. It had already set, but
Mm-hmm.
the ship was hanging out watching them, but at the right distance, so it looked like it was the moon to them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
right. So eventually, they get this whole story out right after hours and many sessions with the therapist, with the hypnotist, right? And he finally has the whole story, and then he reveals it to them. And on their last session, they like freak out because now they remember the whole thing, but then they feel calm because now they know what happened in those 2.5 hours, right? They know why they couldn't tell where they were in the car, like where those miles went, because now they remember, oh, we turned off the road, we actually met them, we got abducted, we got examined. Everything makes sense now, like the pinging noises when they abducted us, the pinging noises when they brought us back, why our watches stopped working, why our clothes are ripped and his shoes are all messed up. It all makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So now here's the crazy part. Here's more of the crazy stuff about their story. Because at this point, they've just decided, like, we don't want to be public about this, right? And so now the only people that know are like her church group, her sister, the hypnotist, and then the guy in the military, right? And she tells the guy that's been getting their story, that's been hypnotizing them, they tell him, you know what, we just don't want to talk about it anymore. As long as we know what happened, we're okay with it, and we'll just leave it like that. So what ends up happening is that there's this reporter for a newspaper, and he ends up searching about their story because someone leaked their classified documents to him from the military. Right?
Yeah.
But remember, when they talked to the military, they didn't have the whole story. All they had were, the sighting of the lights, the things with the binoculars where they thought they saw windows and people, but they didn't have the whole story, right? But this reporter gets leaked that report, and he starts digging into everything, and he eventually gets in touch with somebody at their church.
Yeah.
And apparently someone recorded their church meetings.
What?
Yeah, their church group. Like, someone recorded part of it. And he got a hold of that recording as well.
What?
Where they talked, to their church group about it. But of course, at that point, they didn't have the whole story yet, right?
Yeah.
Well, he gets in touch with them, and he wants to let the whole story out, but they're like, no, we don't want to talk about it. We just don't want it public. Well, the newspaper starts publishing articles about them, telling the story that this reporter has, right?
Yeah.
But he kind of embellishes the story. And so it's not really accurate anymore completely.
Yeah.
And then, of course, people pick up on it because it's a fantastic story, right?
Yeah.
Even the stuff that the reporter has to, like, make up and try to make sound better.
Like to fill
in. People, like, start going crazy about this story. It becomes, like, it's not the first alien abduction story, right? But it becomes like the most well-known story ever, right? They like everyone has heard about Betty and Barney Hill, and they start getting contacted from all over the world, basically. So they figure, well, now that the cat's out of the bag, we might as well tell the whole story.
Yeah.
And they start to do that. And they start talking about it to different people.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually end up like on TV, I think, a couple times. It just goes crazy. It just goes nuts.
Crazy.
And like I said, there's a lot of evidence around them, especially with the hypnotism and the tapes, right? A lot of the stuff is lost by the time all this happens. Like, they don't have the car anymore, and of course his shoes are gone. But they still have her dress, and that ends up getting examined years and years later.
Mm-hmm.
Because the dress has like tears, and it's a brand new dress that has tears in it. And it also has like this pinkish powder on it.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunately, no one super scientific ends up with the dress, and so the people who examine it can't tell what the powder is.
Mm-hmm.
So we never have like a firm understanding of what was on the dress itself.
That sucks. So none of that stuff is preserved, right?
What's that?
I said that sucks. So none of that stuff is preserved.
Well, it's kind of interesting because the university where she graduated from actually has like a section set up, and they preserved everything that they could. So I believe they have her diary or her notebook where she wrote down her dreams and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And she also remembers the map, right, that the alien showed her.
Yeah.
And she redraws it, and it's in those slides that we have, right? So years later, this I believe it's a school. It's a teacher that starts looking at it, and the teacher figures out where the stars are, like
what?
by comparing, comparing like star maps. She figures out that like those two dots are Zeta Reticuli, those the bigger ones, and then the one dot the one line that goes, the dotted line that goes off to the side is Earth. You know, like so it goes up, and then there's a dot over there, and that's Earth. And then there's like other planets or other places that they've been to, and then there's other like little expeditions that are kind of going off like dotted lines. Yeah.
That is so interesting.
It's crazy, right?
We probably had people that have gone out there, but we just don't know, you know, all those secret things.
I don't know. It's an interesting story, and it's so well documented, right?
We've probably been abducted before, and we don't even remember. We don't even realize.
Have you ever missed 2 hours?
Several hours. I'm probably so weird to them that they just keep coming back because they don't understand.
So, yeah, let's get Shona again.
They're probably wait, I'm confused now again. No.
You would be the worst subject to get abducted. The aliens are like, oh, we got Shona again.
She doesn't know anything.
I thought Bob was going to get Shona this week. But we got her again.
Not again. They
So
need to get me. They need to get me one day. That I go to San Diego, and then they can really pick on your brains.
Anyway, so that is the story of Benny of the Hills, right? Oh, other side note, Betty could never have children, so they never had any kids.
What?
Yeah. And during the the sessions with the hypnotist,
Mm-hmm.
Barney had this thing happen a couple times since then, but once, like on the anniversary, I believe, of when they were abducted, and then once right after it was revealed, like everything was revealed to them, and they could remember the whole thing. He had this weird, like, ring of warts show up around his junk.
What the fudge?
Yeah. And it's actually in his medical records because he had them examined and removed.
A ring of warts?
Yeah, all around his junk.
Like those
all
little...
around his... Yeah, those.
What?
Yeah, and it happened like when it was revealed, and they went they went to a doctor and they had it like documented, and they had them removed.
That is so crazy.
Right?
But I'm assuming they never told her if she was pregnant or not, right? Or
They never told her.
They never remembered. Damn.
He didn't ask and they didn't tell.
So
they just told her they were checking. So did they steal her baby? Because they went on vacation, right? To Canada.
That's crazy.
Never know. Never know. What did the aliens do to Betty? Did they steal her baby? Did they just make a mistake and like stop her from having kids ever?
I don't know.
Pretty weird. Right?
Maybe when they did that old pain go away, poof, they're like, "Oh, if she has a baby, it's gonna cause her pain." There.
They zapped her. Maybe.
That's crazy. I wonder if they abduct me, can they give me a uterus back? No, I'm just kidding.
Maybe.
So I can
reproduce. Maybe they.
I don't think we need more Chonas in this world.
The aliens are like, no, we don't need another Chona.
No, please no. Reproduce.
Can you imagine a little baby Chona and we have to take them both?
Oh, man.
The aliens are like, I'm out of here. We're going to another planet.
And that is crazy. Wow.
Right?
I had heard of stories like when I was younger, like, you know, TV shows or like on the radio and stuff, how they would just talk about, you know, different stories, and some people that obviously remembered and then other people that that didn't remember. But they're all pretty similar. They're all pretty similar with like the sound and how they just see like the light, like a luminous light, and they just kind of like hover around, and I don't know. And then like the examinations rooms too, like you said, it's usually that's what most people say, you know, from the stories that I used to hear when I was younger.
There's a lot of similarities, right? And they're always like the grays, right? They're almost always the grays that are like doing all the probing and checking people out.
Well, except we think they're
Mostly.
green. I don't know why we think they're green.
Well, remember there's different colors of the grays,
Yeah.
so people don't know if they're like different species of gray or different races.
The
Of
grays
gray.
are in charge. The greens.
You know, maybe
grays
like
order
they're like
and the greens.
the Asian grays are yellow and the Irish grays are green. I don't know. But yeah, there's a few different colors, but you know they're all like similar looking. They're shorter. They're they got those eyes. They have that weird like slitty mouth, right? No lips.
Oh yes, the little
They don't really have
just
lips. They just have kind of like that
like a little
line
V.
going across.
Yeah, like a line. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
That was an
it's
interesting
interesting
one.
though.
It would be interesting to listen to some of the audios if it would be possible. I think that would be interesting.
I will look up and see if there's like an interesting clip that you might like. Maybe I'll look for one where they're like screaming or something.
Maybe tonight I'll be like all night up looking for searching audios.
I don't know if I want to go through 11 hours of tape though. I'll look for a clip. I'll look for something good.
I wouldn't mind it. I'd be like, fast forward 10 seconds, fast forward 10 seconds, fast forward 10 seconds, fast forward. Something happens here. Okay.
Yeah, but the problem is I would get sucked into it, right? Because
Yes.
you hear the guy's voice and he's like, well, what happened after that? And then you hear like one of their voices, well, then we walked across the ground and headed towards the ship, and I could see their blank eyes staring back at me, and like you just kind of get like sucked in. You're like, and then what happened? You know what I mean? But you have to go through like 11 hours to get the whole story. What you have to go through 11 hours to hear what I just told you.
Man, I don't know, but it would be pretty interesting. I think we should look for more stories and yeah, I think that would be pretty cool.
You want to hear more about the hills? You want to hear some of the clips and stuff?
No. I mean, like, it would be interesting if we like went over shared like in other episodes, like future episodes of other stories.
Oh, more abduction stories.
Yeah.
Oh. So as part of this episode, I was actually thinking about. Here's an idea for you.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about. Have you seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
Mm-mm.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe
it's true that you're talking to.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind is one of the most famous movies that deals with like aliens. It's like a Steven
I've seen the Fifth
Spielberg,
Element or whatever it's called.
I'll message you. But anyway,
Okay.
it was built up out of kind of a bunch of alien stories. He kind of took a bunch of them and kind of like mashed them together and made like a feature film, right?
Interesting.
Yeah. So, here.
Dun, 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 dun.
Let me look something up for you. Talk to the people for a second.
KK. No, I'm just kidding. And then Ruin's ear is bitten off by KK. Live exclusively for you guys. No, I'm just kidding. Let us know if you guys know of any stories that you guys know of or that you guys would like for us to cover, or like certain areas. I know I've heard that like a lot of them happen in Mexico too. Or people, just kind of tell a lot of stories that they think could be either aliens or like witches or different things.
Okay, so here's the definition. So you know why they call it Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
Because they come really close to the humans. And they're the third kind.
Uh,
Why?
So Close Encounters, there's actually like a descriptive list that someone made it up in like Ohio State University. I didn't remember his name or anything, so I had to look it up. Alan Hynek. And so Close Encounters of the First Kind is basically you spot something in the sky, but it leaves no evidence.
Okay.
So, like, you see, like, a UFO in the sky,
Like the
but there's no
flashing lights or
evidence of
something.
it.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Like, you didn't take a picture or anything
Mm-hmm.
like that, right? Close Encounters of the Second Kind is when a UFO leaves a physical trace.
A physical what?
So, physical trace. So, like, burns on the ground, branches broken, like, you can see where it, like
the skin mark.
dents the dents in the ground, that kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
And then the third kind is you make contact with a UFO.
Ooh.
So you see a pilot on board or another life form.
Those are the ones we want, right?
Well, it depends, right?
Well, that we want to learn about, that we want to know about.
So
I wouldn't mind it if y'all are listening to me. No, I'm just kidding. But she said if you want to be found, you're found. So no.
They're not going to come get me because they're afraid of the parrot.
They're afraid of KK.
So here's a little funny side note. Steven Spielberg, to make the movie, he actually paid $1,000 to borrow the phrase for the title of the movie, Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Why?
Because the other guy had like copyright on it, I guess, of the phrase.
What?
Yep. So, Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind is when you get kidnapped. So when you're actually abducted.
So this is an older movie?
No. This is the classification system. So, like, if you said Close Encounters, like, I had a Close Encounter of the First Kind. If you're talking with, like, someone who's into aliens, right?
No, but I mean this movie that you're talking about, it's an older movie?
It's not that old.
It's from the 70s?
Well, it's a little older, but still, you should watch it.
I've seen, I forgot what it's called. I don't know.
So the fourth kind is when you actually get abducted. So if you told someone that you had a close encounter of the fourth kind, it means you had contact with them, that you got abducted.
Ooh, that's what we want. Signs is the one that I've seen.
Signs, yeah, it's way older than that. And then the fifth kind is when you're having regular conversations with the aliens.
What the heck? Like, wouldn't so why wouldn't like the fourth and the fifth just be the same thing?
Well, the fourth kind just means you get abducted and they like probe you, right? And they examine you, but it doesn't mean it doesn't mean you ever see them again. The fifth kind means like you're like hanging out with the aliens, like they do with you.
Like you and I, like they're friends. Hi, Amphibious. Oh, he's doing grapes. Ooh, you know what that means. Hi, Muppetoons. That means vino.
Alien painkillers might be the way. So, anyway, yeah, so there's like a classification system for your encounters. Pretty crazy, right?
We want the fifth one.
You want the fifth one, but you'll settle for the fourth one.
No.
You'll settle for just some probing.
No, we want the fifth one. We want to like have interaction and talk to them.
You want to have them on the podcast?
Yes.
That's one way to get views.
Right?
So tonight we have Bob, who's from Alpha Centauri, and he's going to be talking to us tonight.
Tonight we
What's
have
up, Bob?
Donald from Ohio. And we
Anyway,
have
but,
Maria Guadalupe from Mexico.
right? Oh, the Argentinian ones are pretty crazy. Oh, I remembered. Hold on. Let me get the number for you because I didn't remember exactly how many there were. Okay, so while I was looking at that, right, I thought tonight was going to be all about the Close Encounters movie and kind of what led into it.
Mm-hmm.
But then the Barney and Betty story, the Hill story, is just amazing, right?
Yeah.
And I figured we should probably do mostly that. But there are some things I found about Argentinian
Encounters?
UFOs.
Yeah.
So 1962, kind of around the same time, Benny and Barney Hill, the Air Force base there spotted one. And that was like on the 11th and the 18th of 1962, right?
Ooh, okay.
And then on the 12th of May 1962, right? So right in between those two, there was a truck driver, Valentino Tomasini,
Mm-hmm.
and Tomasini and Umberto Zanobi. They were traveling on Route 35 near Bahia Blanca, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they saw an object on the ground next in a field, right near them.
Mm-hmm.
As they drove down the road closer to it, it lifted up off of the ground and flew across the road about 4 meters above the road. So like 12 feet above the road. And then this orangey glowy kind of light came out of the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And it shot up into the sky, kind of like the Hills sighting. Yeah, it turned kind of like orangey bally-ish and flew away. So kind of just like theirs, and their photo. There's a photo in that little slideshow that we played.
Mm-hmm.
And that one is from the 12th of the 21st of May 1962 in Bahia Blanca. And a guy named Miguel Tolme,
Mm-hmm.
he took 2 pictures of it, and his photos were published in the newspaper there. And then one of those photos is inside that our slideshow as well. Between the 21st and 23rd of May, same year, 1962.
Dang. Uh-huh.
The naval base there spotted more UFOs.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like crazy May, right?
Yes.
So there's a whole bunch of other ones, but a lot of them are like right at military bases there.
Mm-hmm.
And let me find the one that is gonna like shock you. So those maps kind of show the area, Bahia Blanca and everything.
Mm-hmm.
One guy got like zapped by like a ray or something, and he got like held in position. He wasn't able to move.
What?
Yeah. And he says he like passed out when he got zapped.
Mm-hmm.
But when he woke up, he was 9 kilometers away from where he was standing.
Ooh. He was a fourth encounter, type 4.
Right? His story actually shows up in a book called El Reino Subterráneo. And here we go. So Christmas, December 1988, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a silver UFO flew over via Urquiza,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's a really like high population area of Buenos Aires. And there were 7,500 witnesses.
Holy.
Yeah, 7,500 people reported the UFO.
What?
Yep. It's also it was on the radar from the airport. They tracked the UFO on the radar. 7,500 people reported it, and there's no explanation to what it was.
It was a satellite. Oh,
No, it was low because the airport radar. Yeah, the airport radar picked it up and they tracked it.
We're waiting. We're ready. Ruin and I are ready.
7,500 people. But it's crazy.
Conference on one of our days off.
Hola, Gonzalo. Vamos a tener todo en español en como
20 minutos.
Like 20 minutes, right?
Yeah, 20 minutes.
All right. En como 20 minutos vamos a empezar en español. Anyway, I didn't want to like tell those whole stories because we would be here like all night, right?
Future episodes. There's like so much that we can talk about.
If they're interested, if you want to hear like alien reports from other countries. I mean, there's plenty here. There's plenty here in the U.S. But it seems like Argentina is like a hotspot. It's like crazy the amount of like aliens that show up.
We should do like a fun facts, and we should search like which are like the top countries or like areas, places, all that.
Gracias, Gonzalo. Yeah, there's plenty just in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like there's other hot spots, right? Where there's tons of sightings, and I don't know if there's been any place that has more than 7,500 witnesses. But it's interesting, very interesting. So, did you learn anything about aliens today? Was it good?
Yes, I didn't know that there was like so many different types that they were categorized in like all those different types. I want to be the fifth type. If you're listening. And let us stream it, please. Let us stream it.
Right? But yeah, I really like their story just because, wow. Just wow. And it's not like they were crazy people, right? He was like in the military. He served in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was like a mailman afterwards. He was like a postal worker. So he had a good job and everything. She was a social worker. I think she helped like she was like a social worker for kids or something. So she was a good lady. They were like responsible, respectable people. They were in like some civil rights groups and stuff, just because they were a interracial family in the 60s.
Yeah,
which was probably pretty hard, and they were like fighting for equal rights, but still they
still, wow. I mean, they were like normal people, right? And they didn't come out and like write a book, day one or anything. They're like, no, we like, if that guy wouldn't have,
Well, they
that
wanted their
reporter wouldn't have dug
privacy.
up their information,
Yeah.
no one would have ever known. They
But
would
thank
just
you, Guy.
been another story in the report, right? But interesting stuff.
Definitely.
So, our next aliens episode, I think we want to do a couple more and cover like a couple different encounters, like maybe not just the grays. That's kind of where I was thinking that we were going next. Because now that we know about all of them, we should talk a little bit about like what people have done or had done to them by the other ones, the other races.
Yes.
So we might get into some more freaky stories.
Yes.
Because the Greys seem like they're the nicest ones.
So far, right? From what we've heard so far.
I mean, they take some samples, they chat a little bit,
They're friendly.
They're pretty chill, but some of the other ones are less nice. So I was thinking maybe we could get into some of those stories. And then also maybe different places, different countries.
Yes.
I'm thinking that's where we're going next with the aliens.
Yes, definitely. In future episodes, I mean, not future episodes, in future seasons. Speaking about seasons, can you believe we're halfway through our 4th season?
That is so crazy.
So unfortunately for you guys, no, just kidding. Unfortunately, that means that we have a 2-week break coming up, right? So no episode next week or the week after that. But I'm gonna keep uploading some, shorts of my trip to Chicago. I don't know if we might get more stuff. We can do, more unboxings if we do. We can also, I don't know, might do like a chill stream or something. You never know, right? I don't know, I might just surprise you.
This is what I'm thinking. Because I'm having that procedure in a couple days, I'm probably not going to be the happiest camper for a few days. But after that, we can definitely do something while we're gone, just not like a full...
Right, not a full episode. Yeah,
like a full double episode, English, Spanish, the whole thing. But I am thinking that we could probably do something short, just hang out for a little bit, or if you get anything interesting in.
Yeah, definitely.
I actually might have some openings to do too. Maybe. I don't know how I'm going to do an opening.
Nice.
I think
Why together?
I'm thinking that I'm going to have to figure out a way to get the camera further away, but my eyesight's horrible. So like, I literally have like a 30-inch TV, like a 1.5 feet away from me right now, so I can read the chat. So I don't know how far away I can get the camera, but maybe I can just like swivel it around or something. I don't know. We'll figure something out. But yeah, we can do something while we're gone, just to kind of stay in touch. But just no full-on episode. And maybe not that first week. Maybe the second week before we come back.
Yep. It's a break for us and a break for you guys. A break for you guys from us. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so we're halfway through 4th season, guys. When we come back, we'll do the last 5 episodes, right, for this season before we go on our break again, which is actually, I think it's going to be like towards the end of October, beginning of November. So it'll be perfect timing for us to be back for the holidays.
Yeah. So our last episode's going to be like right in November, right? Yeah, it's going to be right in November. It looks
like literally like the first, like that first, I don't know,
And then
First
then
day,
we'll have a
first
break.
weekend for something of November. But yeah.
We'll be back for Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
and then maybe a Christmas.
We'll be back for couple.
Ooh,
Yes.
ooh. Maybe we'll smoke a turkey.
Like, smoke,
Maybe
like,
I'll go out. I have no idea. I think Amphibious is using a speech to text.
diarrhea, no?
Ria, no.
Diarrhea, no. Diarrhea, no. I don't know. Oh, on air aid.
I have no idea what he's saying.
On air aid. He's writing it backwards. On air. On air. I'm backwards
Oh.
too. On air. But he's writing it
No.
backwards.
No, you know why? I just looked at the podcast. I just looked at the stream, and the stream is backwards. Your picture is backwards.
Yeah, it always comes up like that. It's Discord. Remember? We've talked.
Always.
Yeah,
It always comes up that.
yeah, we've talked about it all the time. And I always told you guys I don't know how to flip it.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think we can fix it. That's funny because I never watch like the whole stream.
Mhm.
I just have like the chat pulled up on the side of the monitor of the TV I'm using. I just have like the chat like up there, and then I have you like centered like right in the middle of the screen, and then the camera's like right in front of you, so it looks like I'm actually looking at the people while I'm looking at you. Anyway. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed the Aliens episode today, and if they have anything that they're interested in, they can always send us a message in the comments, DM. And Chana's makeup is winning. Win for the makeup.
This is what you wanted. You wanted to see me suffering. You wanted me to see me with an allergic reaction. It's not too bad actually yet.
Yet.
So
Wait till the end of the Spanish
hopefully we
episode.
survive through the Spanish one, which we're supposed to start in like 10 minutes. So
Okay.
we'll leave you guys
Let's
here
end
for
this
now.
one.
Yes. And we'll see you guys back in 2 weeks.
Maybe
weeks.
something short in between.
Yeah, maybe. So thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you guys. We will see you guys in the next stream. Take care, guys.
Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.